What's going on, everybody? What is going on? It is Friday, December the 4th, 2020. First live stream of the month. Welcome, everybody, to the chat. If you have not done so already, please go ahead and like and share the stream with as many people as you possibly can. We're trying to get as many people in here as possible. I'm about to go ahead and share this on my Twitter account right now to let the people know that we are live. I hopefully suggested you do the same. Let's see, who do we have in here so far? Let's see, I have Darlene in here. Brittany, what's going on? I don't know if the notifications haven't gone out yet, but we'll see. It says I have 13 people watching so far. Let's see, Tam, what's going on? Gonna wait to see if we can get some more people in here. Let's see, Queen of Spades, what's going on? Isaiah, what's up? Vulcan 2054, Mark Stewart, Jerome, what's going on? Make sure y'all hit that like button so the algorithm can pick up and promote the stream. What's going on? King Black, is that 81 or B1? I can't really tell. Pisces the King, what's going on? Jerron, what's up? Ashen, what's going on? Make sure y'all like the stream, share it. What's going on? Harley Lynn, interesting take on the name. What's going on, Letitia? Let's see. Marco Hinton, some chick named Star, Olikia Hill. Shout out to Cincinnati. Battle of Jenkins Ferry says, I got into a disagreement with Harvey. Ron Cyrus says something racist to Candace Owens. If you like black people should say something about it, but I said, I have a video coming about that. I actually recorded a video about that this morning. It'll be up probably sometime next week because I have so many other commentaries ahead of it. What's going on, Tawana Cook? Okay, 81. All right, bet. I couldn't tell if it was B1 or 81. Trying to wait for some more people to come in here. It's 4:03 p.m. What's going on, Gnome King? How has everybody's week been? I know where I'm at, it has gotten very cold. What's going on, C-Truth the Revelator? Like, yesterday was probably the coldest it has ever been where I'm at all year. Well, since the beginning of the year. What's going on, Anaya Joseph Washington, Angie D. Hill? Like, it was so cold yesterday that I had to wear a hoodie and a jacket. It says, Torrin, do people ever say that you look like Ludacris? And Harley Lynn is my real name, by the way. Well, yes, all the time. I get that Ludacris comparison all the time. Ashton said that Mandalorian episode was something. Yeah, it was very good. It's only, I think it's only 2 more episodes left because I know they only do an 8 episode run per season. He said it's cold in NYC. I bet it is. New York always gets cold. No one can say, I don't know how much the stream I'll be able to catch. Got to head to work. Okay, well, it'll be like, you'll be able to catch the playback. I'm going to tell you this. You're going to miss the part that I think a lot of people have been wanting me to talk about, which is probably the last topic I'm going to discuss. And I think you may know what topic I'm talking about. Darlene said it's been okay. It's been raining where I'm at. Cold and rain does not go together, in my honest opinion. He says my week has been going well. My week was good in the Michigan in the 40s. Yeah, it was in the 40s today, but yesterday it was like in the 30s, and it was windy. Let's see, Mimi, what's going on? Sonia, you said it's cold in New Mexico. Oh, you're in New Mexico. Salute. Oh, what's going on, Mickey Bricks? You said a couple days ago You had a freak snowstorm come through Columbus, Ohio. Well, winter's right around the corner. You said your long johns were not enough the other day. The temp dropped hella low in southeastern North Carolina. Pinky said, no, you didn't miss anything. I just got started. Colder than them. For across the pond. Some people still wearing shorts in California. Well, it's California. What's going on, Janesta? What's going on, Tina? Before I get started, I wanted to give like an update on a video that I did yesterday, and I didn't find out about it until people were telling me or informing me so much about it, and I really didn't know. But that video that I did about that cop in Waldorf, which is about 30 minutes from me, people were telling me that the reason why his wife killed him is because allegedly he was cheating on her with this black woman. I'm not entirely sure how true that is, but that's what I keep hearing. Appreciate the super chat, Black Boy Logic. But that's what I kept hearing, is that allegedly he was cheating on her with this black woman, and she had found out, and that's what ended up happening. But then I also kept hearing some stuff too that she was also cheating on him. So I don't know how true any of that is, especially since both of them are now deceased, and dead people don't talk. So we'll never truly know what the actual story is, but it was something about him cheating on her because there was a picture of him with some black woman and they were kissing on the lips. So, and I actually did see the picture, and it does look like it was him. Let's see, who else do we have in here? Let's see, Nate Blast. What's up? We'll probably get started in the next couple of minutes. He says she's a cop killer regardless. Fucking another bitch doesn't warrant a death sentence. You're right about that. They said, where is Blue Lives Matter at? Good question. Because I have no clue where they're at. Another quote-unquote fake organization as far as I'm concerned. Angie says Seiji did a video about the affair. Mickey Bricks 2.0 said he should have kept it black. Well, here's my thing about that. If it doesn't matter if the woman was white, black, or otherwise, if she wanted to kill, she was going to do it. Look at the woman that just recently stalked her ex quote-unquote boyfriend, who she was only messing with for 3 months, traveled all the way and crossed state lines to come back to DC to kill him. And she was black, and she was going for her PhD. My thing is, why do they give so many women cover when it comes to them and the abuse that they give towards men or to their men? How many snapped episodes in Deadly Women do we have to see before that actually becomes a thing and a topic of discussion? Let's see, what's up, Jordan? I'm probably get started in another minute. Let's see here. I'm trying to see if there's any new people that's coming up in here. I still see some of the same names, but I'm sure they'll be pouring in eventually. And like I said, make sure y'all hit that like button if you have not done so already. This is going to be a very interesting show. All right, it is 4:10, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. First topic I wanted to talk about is Chadwick Boseman. Shout out to Chadwick Boseman. Still shocking that we lost him back in August, and we didn't know what could have possibly been the issue until we found out that he was suffering from cancer at the age of 43. But I wanted to highlight two things. One, his birthday just passed. His birthday was on this past Sunday. he would have been 44 years of age. And also, the people over at Disney, because he was in Black Panther, and Black Panther is a Marvel property, and Marvel is owned by Disney. They decided that, how for all the MCU movies, he they always do like an introduction to all the characters and everything like that. And when the movie comes on, well, on the Black Panther movie, for this edition of it, just for the Black Panther movie, they have decided to put in pictures of him, whether at red carpet appearances or any kind of function where it's just him in the intro and there's no other character. And that's what they decided to do going forward. So I think every time Black Panther airs on television or any other place outside of the Disney Plus network or streaming platform, they're going to do that as a tribute to him. Exactly. No, like Noam King said, get the likes up. He said almost 80 people are watching and less than 60 likes. I don't know why it's almost 80 and not over 100, but it is what it is. YouTube has its moments when it wants to share the stream and days when it doesn't. And I can tell by the way that the chat is moving right now. But yeah, Chadwick would have been 44 this past Sunday. And it's just unfortunate. It's still a shock that he's no longer with us. But that was just a little small thing I wanted to throw in there about him. Now, I wanted to talk about Quawan Charles. Now, this is a story. Now, this I could have actually talked about last week. It's going to actually be very brief. I could have talked about this last week, especially since what I'm about to talk about happened last week. This is not so much an update as far as them saying that they captured the terrorists, the monsters that are responsible for his murder. Because as far as I know, that chick and her son are still on the run. I type his name into the Google search bar into like just about every single day, and nothing really comes up. But the only thing I really wanted to talk about when it came to him is that about a week or two ago, they actually put him to rest. They actually laid him to rest. They had his funeral not last Saturday, but the Saturday before. So they've already had the funeral. And that's pretty much it as it stands right now. Like nothing more has really come from this except that. And as far as I know, they are still looking for the individuals that I truly believe are responsible for his murder. But other than that, there's no other news developments. When I get off of this stream, I'm going to type his name into the search bar again and see if anything else comes up. But as of right now, the only thing that they talked about was his funeral. Right, Noam King, they are still on the run. I told y'all, I won't be surprised if they make it to the border. I will not be surprised if they are trying to get to that border. Remember, they was in Louisiana. Louisiana is like next door to Texas, and right below Texas is Mexico. So I wouldn't be surprised. So let me move on to the next story. And that's Bill Cosby. How many of y'all are subscribed to Nicole's View and watch the let me move this over some because I cannot see the chat. How many of you are subscribed to Nicole's View and watched her live stream that she recently had, in which she had like a panel full of other people, and they were talking about the Bill Cosby appeal? I actually had plugged it in the week before when they was when she had said it as a I guess you can say a future live stream. Well, they had the appeal hearing this past Monday. I think Monday was the 1st, if I'm not mistaken. No, the Tuesday was the 1st. Tuesday was the 1st. And they basically had his appeal hearing and everything like that. And it basically told us everything that we already knew about this case. It was a sham. There's nothing there. They just did this to railroad this man and put him in jail on some very shaky, shady evidence. Most of them women were lying. No doubt about that. and that they need to let that man go. Point blank, period. Yeah, like that's really all I could really gather from that. Like it was nothing there. You even had some of the judges who were there who was like looking at that so-called evidence like with disdain on their face, like what is this? Like this is what you presented to me to try to get the appeal not to work. So basically, it sounds to me like those on his side, his attorneys who are bringing a stronger case to the table to get this man an appeal to get him out of jail because he shouldn't be there in the first place. Like people have said, if Bill Cosby is guilty of anything, it is of infidelity and cheating on his wife. Pretty much, you know, that's pretty much all you can guilt him of, but you shouldn't go to jail for it. And shout out to Sean from The Shy for that donation. She said, "Good afternoon, nephew. Love to the chat. Good afternoon to you as well." But yeah, they got him on hearsay. And to be honest, after the recent stuff that has come out about Me Too, because if y'all saw the video that I just recently did about Me Too, in all of their BS, you know, with them paying people and salaries and all types of stuff, they need to really go back and investigate a lot of these cases that had Me Too attached to it. Like, seriously. Because all of them are some fraudstresses that was only in it for the bag. They said that they were spending the money on trips and designer clothes and only a small portion of that money went to actual victims. A very small portion. When I say a small portion, I think they said it was like less than 500,000. I think it wasn't even 350,000. I think the number was somewhere around $317,000 or something, somewhere in that ballpark. But for all the other people that was involved, that was getting paid, we're talking about over $1 million being paid out to these people to go stay at these lavish resorts and all types of stuff like that and take these trips all across the globe. And don't get it twisted, because BLM is the same exact way. And see, Sonya, we on the same page. As soon as I said that, the comment popped up right on my screen. But yeah, they are all in it for their own personal bag. When it boils itself down, that's what it's for. That's why I did not take any of them seriously. And then when you had like some of the black women that had a grievance, like, you know, Lupita Nyong'o and Aurora Perrineau, they didn't listen to them. They didn't listen to them. They just kind of like brushed them off as if black women could not be victims of sexual assault. As if only white women could be victims of sexual assault. But hopefully this works out in Bill Cosby's favor. But as far as I can see from this first round with this hearing that happened on the 1st, it's looking kind of good for him so far. So keep our fingers crossed, because it's headed in the right direction, but it ain't over, as they say, until the fat lady sings. Shout out to Gnome King. He says, same way the Red Cross spent all of Cuba and Haiti's money. Shout out to you for the super chat. Yeah, you know, the Clintons. That's no secret. They try to keep it on the low, but we know who's behind that. But let me go ahead and move on to the next topic, and that is of the Grammys. I don't even have to ask this question in the chat, and that question would be, does anybody in here care about the Grammys? I know I don't. I'm going to be honest. I can't remember the last award show that I watched. I can't. I cannot remember the last award show that I watched that I can say that I actually... Well, I'll put it like this. When Mary J. Blige had her her Lifetime Achievement Award at the BET Awards last year. That was enjoyable to watch, mainly for nostalgic purposes. Because I'm a person who was born in '89, grew up in the '90s, so when she came out with her first album, I was young, but I was still old enough to hear the music. So looking at her perform her hits, that was enjoyable to me. But other than that, no. Because award shows are so predictable nowadays. They're not like how they were back in the day, like, you know, back in the 90s when people would look forward to watching them. At least when you had acts that you wanted to see or people that you wanted to watch and everything like that. I can't remember the last time I really listened to the radio. Like when I get in my car and I'm driving, I'm turning something on to YouTube and I'm listening to some kind of a podcast. That's about it. Or I turn something on my playlist. That's about it. Something where I can control what I listen to. But the reason why I'm talking about the Grammys is because the nominations went out, if not last week, the week before. Because I wasn't going to talk about it until I kept seeing a recurring theme. So the nominations went out, and you had quite a few black artists who was upset that they did not get a nomination. I saw The Weeknd, he was one of the more vocal people about it. Drake, he kind of came out in support of The Weeknd not getting a nomination for a particular category. I think Teyana Taylor got upset about something as well. My thing is this: as black artists, y'all have to know how these award shows work. You have to know how these award shows work. You can give all you can to the industry and to the people throughout the year, and they still won't grant you anything. Look at Pac and Biggie. Two iconic individuals in hip hop. Neither one of them won a Grammy. And I think people say, well, they didn't live long enough because they were killed, they were murdered before they could actually get to that point. But to be honest, they made music that was good enough, in my opinion, for them to even get a nomination. They've never even been nominated for a Grammy. So, of course, they could not have won. But that doesn't take away the validity of their music and how iconic and legendary and timeless their music is. My thing is this: don't go out there making music with the intent and the hope to get an award. And you're right, Kenneth Hill, I do like some of The Weeknd's music. His not his last album, but the album he came out with called My Dear Melancholy was one of my favorite albums. It was a very short album, but I actually like that album. I even like that song he did for that movie, The 50 Shades of Grey, called Earned It. That's probably one of my favorite songs by The Weeknd. He got an Oscar nomination for that. He didn't win, but he got an Oscar nomination. My thing is this: don't make music with the intent of trying to get an award. Because some of the people that's getting these nominations and getting these awards don't even deserve them. And the people who get snubbed, as they called it, make some of the best music. Just be proud of the music that you make, and let the fans speak for them, and let the music speak for itself. You don't need an award to get you some kind of validation. And then I had to also add in, because I had posted about it on Twitter, that you have other awards that are given to black people by other black people, but when those awards come up, you rarely ever see that black person at the award show to accept the award or just there to perform. Like, they always have to mail the award to them. Like, what's good with that? There's a lot of black artists who have never won a Grammy, but their music is excellent. It's good. Someone mentioned Bob Marley. I didn't know Bob Marley never won a Grammy, but people still like and bump Bob Marley's music. He's still talked about to this day, and Bob Marley been dead since the 70s. But I think a lot of people, they think that having prestigious awards like Grammys and, stuff like that is going to elevate them to another sphere. Sure, there's going to be perks that come with that. Appreciate you, Gnome King. Right. But I know that, like I said, it has perks that comes with winning a Grammy or something like that. This I do know. But that's not the end all be all either at the same time. Just make your music, let the people listen to it and love it, and go from there. Let the talent speak for itself. No need to get upset. I know you get upset because you feel like you make this great music and you want to be acknowledged and everything like that. But it's not the end of the world either, in my honest opinion. But then again, what do I know? I'm not in the music industry. I'm not a producer. I'm not a songwriter. I'm not a singer. I'm not a rapper. So what do I know? But then again, I'm not out here trying to get their validation either. You said he died in 1981? Okay. Well, see, that's still the early 80s. I don't know if he came out with any music in the 80s. Well, between the 80 and 81. That's why I had said the 70s. Battle of Jenkins Fears is you can get the Grammy curse like the Oscar curse. You can win and never hear from you again. Exactly. You could win. Think about it. Look at. Oh, Monique is a perfect example. Now to shift gears a little bit, she's won an Oscar. She won an Oscar for probably one of the most disgusting roles ever, in Precious. And what happened to Monique after that? She got blackballed. She got blackballed out of Hollywood, thanks to Lisa Daniels and Okra the Mammy Supreme Wig Free and a little bit of Tyler Perry. Jennifer Hudson, she won an Oscar back in 2006. Now, I'm not saying that Jennifer is struggling. Luckily for her, she still has singing to fall back on. Like, no one was really checking more so for her acting, even though she could act. But she had singing to fall back on. But it's like someone said, you win that award, and sometimes you are never heard from again. Janessa says you have to admit the music is not as good as it used to be. You're right about that. It's only good to the people who are of this generation. That's why I say when I get in the car, I don't listen to the radio like that. I turn my playlist on to songs that I downloaded to my phone, to my playlist that I want to listen to. Gnome King, shout out to you for the super chat. He says, sounds like the Madden rookie cover curse. But you know what? It is what it is. So don't just always rely on an award and everything like that to, elevate you. That's just me. But like I said, I'm not in the music industry. I'll give you one more example. Look at Leonardo. Yeah, you're right. She is supposed to be coming out with that Aretha Franklin movie. That right there, a lot of people saying, oh, she's going to have that Best Lead Actress nomination lined up. But we'll see. And the thing is, I actually want to see that movie. But, thanks to the WooVid-19, it is what it is. But one more example I wanted to give to you was look at Leonardo DiCaprio. Leonardo DiCaprio, white guy, and I'm using him as an example, has been acting since he was a teenager. Since the 90s. He has gotten so many Oscar nominations. And then he finally got one like 3 years ago. For a role that I was not expecting him to even get his first Oscar on, to be quite honest. Because I didn't watch that movie. I forgot what it was called. Appreciate you, G. Bowman Jr. But yeah, he just got one, like I said, like about 3 years ago, I think. But you don't see him bitching about it. If anything, The people that was more upset about Leonardo DiCaprio not getting an Oscar were his fans in the media. Thank you, J Dog. The Revenant. I couldn't think of the name. The Revenant. That was the name of the movie, where he was out in the wilderness. But yeah, and he was losing to people who have been acting a lot in less time than he has. Like at that time, he was like considered a vet. But he didn't cry about it. He didn't bitch about it. He just kept acting and acting and acting. And, you know, the nomination came and he finally got it. And I think they said, you know what? This man has been nominated so many times. Let's just go just up and give him the award this time. Let's just put him into the category with some people that we don't think was good enough to beat up against him. That's what I think. But it is what it is. But I will, you said he got an Oscar for play. He didn't get nominated. You talking about Django? He didn't get nominated for Django. The only person who got nominated for Django was the guy who was helping Django, the white guy who was helping Django. And I'm glad that Leonardo DiCaprio didn't get, excuse me, didn't get nominated for that role. I'm very glad because I hated Calvin Candy in that movie. I did. You said Pac got nominated in '99 but lost to Eminem. So he got nominated posthumously then. And that's another thing they like to do too, is they like to give you nominations after you die. Like for example, they're talking about giving Chadwick Boseman an Oscar nomination for his role in this new movie that's on Netflix that he's in with Viola Davis. They like to do that too. That's what happened with Aaliyah. When she was she got her first her first Grammy after she died. Off of her self-titled album, you know, the one that had Rock the Boat and More Than a Woman on it. She got a Grammy off of that. But of course, by the time the Grammys came on in 2002, she was already dead. She died in 2001. And her movie Queen of the Damned, which was her last film, came out that following year. So she was giving her flowers while she was gone. Yep, just like Heath Ledger. But yeah, that's all I really wanted to talk about when it came to this topic. I didn't even expect to stay on this particular topic that long, but you know, when I get passionate about something, it is what it is. But let me move on to this next topic. And that's this one right here involving this man named Michel Zecler. Who has heard of this story right here? Like, who has heard the name? If you look at the picture right here, can you pinpoint and, you know, say that you've heard of this story? I'll understand wholeheartedly if you don't, if you have not heard this story before. Because it's not getting a lot of airplay, at least here, mainly because it didn't happen here, but it made world news. But his name is Michel Zecler. Gamer G, that's going to be the last topic I discuss. Chosen One said they haven't heard of it. Jordan Black said he's heard of it. Appreciate the super chat, Marco. Yes, I did too. Chadwick Boseman was very talented. He could play just about anybody, in my opinion. Jay said he saw the video. Ashton says no. And IG Omen, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing your name correctly, says you heard of him. He was beaten by the police in France. Okay. So some of you have heard of it. Okay. So in case y'all have not heard, this man's name is Michel Zecler. Or Zecler, but I want to say Zecler because it doesn't look like it has an accent to it. He is a black man, as you can see on your screen, from Paris in France. And he's a music producer. And one day he was, you know, going back to his studio and he was viciously attacked by these 4 palm-colored French terrorists over there in France. Now, this just shows you right here that Dub S, as I like to call it, is global. It's global. Don't think that it's just here in the States. It's everywhere. And this story right here will prove it. Now, I did not want to post up the picture that everyone has seen, because the picture that everybody has seen was he had blood coming down his face and everything like that. So I wanted to post a picture where he doesn't have that on his face and you can see his face. But you can see he has his arm in a sling because that was from the injury he received dealing with them. Appreciate you, Black Boy Logic. But anyway, so he basically was cornered into his studio, and then it was four of them, four against one. Now, mind you, in the footage we saw, it's a very tight and cramped space. It's a very tight and cramped space. Like if y'all saw the video, it's very tight. It looks like a box. Like four people could not fit in there at one time. It was that tight. Appreciate the super chat, Solo Dolo. But when I was looking at the video, because it was from his surveillance camera, and I know Sonya just posted in the chat, they said that you cannot film police in France. Well, how they got a hold of the footage, like I said, is because there was a surveillance camera in the corner in the studio that recorded the entire thing. But they basically had him cornered, and then they beat him in the apartment, not the apartment, in the studio. They beat him. He's very lucky to be alive. I don't know what the gun policy is over in France, because I know in the UK they don't allow the police over there to hold to have guns. So I think they just have like batons and maybe a taser, if that. But they basically beat him, and they beat him bad. As you can see, he has the arm in a sling, so they injured him. But all I could remember visually seeing was the blood coming down his face. That's the image that they kept putting out there. Appreciate the super chat, See Truth. Yeah, Jordan. Yeah, they was on top. It was four against one. They practically jumped him. And that was the reason, Angie, because he allegedly did not have a mask on. That was their reasoning. Allegedly, he didn't have a mask on, and that's why they followed him into the studio. And then when they started to beat on him, they did the same thing that they do over here. That's why I said they all go by the same script. They kept saying he was resisting. That's the same talking point that they use here. Appreciate the super chat, Noam King. He said they also threw tear gas into his studio at people. But yeah, so they said he was resisting. But how could he? The studio was so tight in space. How did you expect him not to move? Oh, the BS that they come up with when it comes to that. However, the story went viral, and the people over in France was not having it. So them people rioted. I saw pictures where people was firebombing cars. Like when I was looking at the pictures, when I was looking through the article, I saw multiple cars set on fire. Like them people was not having it. And I think that's how the story went viral, was because the people over there got out in the streets and was fucking shit up. What's going on, Roy T? Exactly, Jordan. If you have not hit the like button, make sure that you do so. Right, Battle to Jenkins Fury. He says, remember when this pandemic first got started, they routinely attacked black people who are not wearing masks while at the same time giving white people a pass. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that early on. It happened, I think, with a couple of guys in a Walmart, I think it was. But like I said, he's lucky to be alive, because they could have easily shot and killed him right there in his studio. If they, because like I said, I don't know what the gun policy is for law enforcement over there with a firearm. I don't know if it's like the UK and they can't have one. But if that's the case, that's what saved his life. But they could have also easily beat him to death, because it was 4 against 1. Now, as far as the consequences goes, from what I was reading or looking up, they said that they're going to have to pay this fine. I forgot how much the fine was. And if they find them guilty, they're going to spend all of them are going to spend like a year in jail. Meanwhile, you have all these Karens and these Brads and these Chads out here getting all in their feelings because they have to wear a mask and they don't get one hand put on them. But this guy gets followed into his studio and gets jumped. But this right here, like I said, this happened across the pond. It happened in Paris, France. So that just lets you know that Dub S is indeed global. He said, Latoya said they don't carry guns in France, just tasers and batons. So it's just like the UK. I bet you if that was a policy they had to implement over here in the States, the police over here would lose their minds. He said like 50,000 pounds. I don't know how much that translates to American dollars. I don't know what that translates to in the US dollar currency. But yeah, hopefully this guy has a damn good lawyer, and it looks like he might have one. And he can get this stuff taken care of. But let me go ahead and move on to the next story. And that's this story right here. How many of y'all in the chat? Hold on. How many of y'all in the chat have watched the fight? How many of y'all watched the fight? The Roy Jones Jr. and Mike Tyson fight. I watched it, but for free. I wasn't about to pay for that. I can't remember the last time I went to someone's house that, or paid for a fight. For what? But I watched it on YouTube. That's how I watched it. But a lot of people wasn't talking so much about the main event fight, but they were really more so talking about what the fight between Logan Paul, was it Logan Paul or Jake Paul? This is Logan Paul, right? I get them mixed up. They both are problematic. One of them Paul brothers, I think it's Logan Paul though, versus Nate Robinson. As a person who works out and has done HIIT cardio before and has done conditioning training with someone who has been trained in boxing and has trained other boxers, Jake Paul, see, I get them mixed up, who has trained with other boxers before, I can honestly say that Nate Robinson's form was horrendous. And those are facts. Nate Robinson, I don't know who trained him or who he paid to train him, but it was not worth the money. I would have got my money back. Like, his stance was all off. Like, really, it was. And see, here's the thing. I think Nate Robinson got into that ring thinking that this was going to be a cakewalk because it was Jake Paul. He went into this thinking that because it was Jake Paul and people see Jake Paul as a YouTuber, that he could not box. Now, this is not me giving any credit to Jake Paul or anything, but Jake Paul has been training for a while, boxing wise, and you can tell. Nate Robinson thought that he was going to get into that ring with Jake Paul and fight like they were on the street somewhere. Nah. Boxing and street fighting are two different things. They are not remotely the same thing. And Nate found out that day that that's what the case was. Shout out to you, Solo Dolo, for the super chat. He says this was trained versus untrained. Jake will get his. Oh yeah, a lot of people said that they excuse me. They said a lot of people said that they want to fight Jake Paul after this fight. Like a lot of people said that they want to fight him. Another thing that I found out is the weight classes were different. That Jake Paul is heavier in weight compared to Nate. I feel like if they knew that going into this, then they should not have fought. Because you're supposed to be evenly matched with your weight class. Of course, if he's weighing heavier than him, then he would definitely have an upper advantage, for sure. He has more power and force with his hits. The only really good thing that came out of this for Nate Robinson is that he got paid. I said he better have got paid for that. But I will say this. It takes a lot of courage to get out there and try and fight in a match like that. It takes a lot of courage to do that. And I can only imagine what Nate Robinson was going through, I had to go through with the taunts and everything after that fight. He was probably banking, I need something in the world to happen, to go viral, to take people's minds off of this so-called fight. Appreciate you, KM Hearts. Mr. Bonaparte, he says Nate has been boxing for about a few years. He's not new. I couldn't tell by looking at this. But don't get it twisted. Just because Jake Paul won this little fight or whatever, that doesn't take away the fact that we know what he was doing over the summer. A lot of people seem to have forgotten that this guy was out there looting in Arizona at a mall during a pandemic while trying to scream BLM. But yeah, there's people that are lined up who said that they want to fight Jake Paul. So we'll see. We will see what happens, and people are gonna be watching that. And hopefully he ends up fighting someone that's in his class that can handle it. Senior 34 says, no lie, Fox News has ran several stories about this fight in the past few days. Yet if Nate had won, they wouldn't have ran any stories. You're right about that, because like someone said in the chat, they needed a great white hype or a great white hope. They love seeing a story where a palm-colored man beats a black man, because they know it's a blow to the ego. Appreciate you, Solo Dolo. He said, let's see him do that to Deontay Wilder. That'll be a very quick fight. If that ever happens. A very quick fight. Isaiah said in what he did in Japan almost 3 years ago. That was his brother Logan. Jake Paul was the one I said that was involved with that riot back in back in June at that mall. But his brother Logan Paul was the one that went to that suicide forest out in Japan a couple years ago. We didn't forget that either. I didn't forget it. And Nate Blassie says he tried to call out Floyd. See, here's the thing. Because Jake Paul won this fight, his ego is boosted. So now it's all gone to his head. He feels he can fight the world. He'll be sadly mistaken. One good hit, and that's curtains for him. Of course, Jerome. He said his channel wasn't terminated. Of course, it wasn't. But we're the ones that has to face the consequences for their actions. Him and Shane Dawson and what's his name, PewDiePie. PewDiePie is the catalyst for this entire thing. Appreciate you, Known King, for the super chat. He says feed him to Adrian Broner. Not to be funny, but can Adrian Broner stay out of jail? It seems like every time I look up, he got arrested and thrown in jail for something. He said he already called out Conor McGregor. I don't like Conor McGregor either, but he would be sadly mistaken to go against him because first off, Conor McGregor is not even a boxer; he's an MMA fighter. That's two different lanes. That's why Conor McGregor got handled by Floyd Mayweather a couple years ago. But yeah, I'm sure Nate Robinson will somehow bounce back from this, and that was not meant to be a pun what I just said. But I'm sure he'll bounce back from this, and hopefully this is a lesson learned. And going forward, if he does choose to fight again, that he trains more and gets better trainers and trains longer. Because someone said he was only, I don't know, how long he was training for this fight. Granted, someone said that he was training, or he's not new to training or boxing and everything like that. Yeah, but he may have stopped. And he may have started up again to gear up for this fight. And he wasn't prepared. He probably went into it with an ego boost, thinking he could take Jake Paul. Because it's Jake Paul. What's going on, Vin? Malaje. But like someone said in the chat, never underestimate your opponent. Always bank that they're probably going to have the one up on you, but don't let them get the one up on you. At least try not to. But let me move on to the last topic. This is going to be a pretty short stream, but this is the topic that everybody has been wanting me to talk about. And quite honestly, this is the topic I've been wanting to talk about all week. Y'all, this is the topic right here I have been wanting to talk about all week. I literally had to force myself not to get on this computer and do a pre-recorded video. But I said, no, I'm going to wait until Friday when I'm with my audience in real time and talk about this. Known King, you may want to wait because I'm about to talk about the topic that you wanted me to talk about. Unless you really have to go. And that's the topic of True Kitchen and Cocktails down in Dallas, Texas. Or was it Houston, Texas? In Texas. We'll just say in Texas. So, there was a video, and you can see it right here in the screenshots, that went extremely viral earlier this week, where you had this man whose name is Kevin Kelly. That's the name of the CEO and operator of this restaurant called True Kitchens and Cocktails. And very nice looking dining experience. I've seen pictures and everything like that. It looks like a very nice upscale type of restaurant. And shout out to him for having a thriving business during a pandemic. In Dallas, okay, just making sure it was in Dallas. But having, like I said, a thriving business during a pandemic, because he was one of the lucky ones. A lot of people wasn't able to operate their business, but somehow he was able to keep his going. But anyway, this video went viral where you had these individuals, these black women who were at the restaurant and decided that they were going to take it upon themselves and start twerking like they were at the club. Appreciate the super chat, Solo Dolo. But they decided they were going to get up and start twerking in front of the restaurant. and in front of, putting their hands on the glass, standing on the furniture, and twerking all over the damn place. Now, this man politely went over 3 times. 3 times, counted 3 times, and told them to not stand on his furniture and to not twerk in his business. And they decided not to. I said they because they made it seem like he only went over and talked to one person. But when they pulled off the other camera angles, there was several women that were doing it. But the video they keep showing is of that one woman that you see right there on the right picture who has, like, it looks like gold looking pants. So when he went back over that next time, and this is where the video comes in, he tells the DJ to cut the music, and he basically says, I created this restaurant for black people. First off, that's what got me. When he said that, he said, I created this restaurant for black people. Because they always say we don't create for our own and everything like that. He said, I created this restaurant for black people, to give them this ambiance of a nice dining experience. And I don't want it to be tainted by this kind of behavior. He said some other things and, things of that nature. But the part that got the people was when he said this: you can get the fuck out, and I don't need your money. And you should have heard how the black women were in there when he said that. They were like, oh. I heard though. I heard it when they said it, when he said that. Appreciate the super chat, Gnome King. Now that I didn't know. That makes this even better. It makes this even more better. But, he went over there and he confronted him. And, of course, after that, the video had gone viral. It was everywhere. Like, there was no place you couldn't see it. I think the first time I saw it was on Instagram for a couple of times. I didn't know what I was about to look at, and then I saw it. And I was in that instance right there when I just watched the part that went viral before even knowing all the other information, I was already in agreement with him. There is a phrase, an age-old phrase that many of us have heard in our lifetime. There is a time and there is a place for everything. At this restaurant was not the time or the place to get up and shake your ass in front of everybody like you were at goddamn Magic City. Because one, you are standing, first off, you're standing on this man's furniture that he paid a lot of money for, that you could have damaged. Then you were leaning up against that glass. What if that glass broke? Then you will be ready to sue, and you would have every right to do so. And that could hurt his business. Because then they'll look more so at him as being the owner, like, why didn't you do anything? Why didn't you stop it? So he's not only looking out for his business, but he's also looking out for your safety. Because you could have got injured if something went wrong. But they couldn't handle that. So what did they do? They took to social media saying, how dare he curse at us like that? How dare he says, get the fuck out? How dare he says, I don't need your money. How dare you talk to black women like this? How dare you? How dare you? How dare you? I'm going to cancel you and all types of shit. That's the insubordination that I'm talking about. The blatant disrespect for this black man as a business owner. I'm glad you said that, Jordan, because I almost forgot that. They were trying to blame the music because the DJ was playing a song by Meg Thee Stallion. And she's from Texas, so she's probably like an anthem down there. he was playing music by Meg The Stallion, and they tried to say, well, we wouldn't get up and dance and twerk like this if he wasn't playing Meg The Stallion. I don't know what song he was playing by Meg The Stallion, but it was enough to want them to get up there and shake their raggedy ass all over the place. But that doesn't matter. You control yourself in an environment like that. Sit your ass down and eat your food. If you want to twerk, go outside and do it. But they did try to use that as an excuse that the DJ was playing Meg The Stallion, and that was that's no excuse. That is no excuse. And one thing I liked about his speech is he actually addressed the men and the women. Do y'all remember that? He addressed the men and the women. He said, how can I come out here and address the men to dress appropriately for my setting, or to act accordingly in my setting, and you don't think I'm not going to address you? The thing is, these women had no respect for him as a black man who owned his own business, because he did not allow them to act like a strag or a ratchet in public. Little do they also know he's also trying to protect their image. Remember, I just did a video last week about Mona Scott Young and how she helped do damage and ruin the black woman's image. A black woman did that, or aided in it. And we're going to get to that point, Gamer G, but I'm working up to that. But they don't cancel her. They give her ratings every week and help line her bank account and increase her net worth every year. But she doesn't get canceled, but you want to cancel this guy. But moving forward, the video went viral, and then TMZ, of all people, they just kept adding fuel to the flames, and we know why they did that. Look at who hosts TMZ, Harvey Levin. He just kept on instigating the whole thing. This is an in-house situation that should be just dealt with us, but you know, in this age, nothing is really in-house anymore like it should be. Then other news media outlets got a hold of it, and he got interviewed and whatnot, and he told even more side, more part of his side of the story, and then people was really still seeing what it was. But then you still had these insubordinate people still trying to make excuses for it. And let me also add this in. It wasn't just black women that were trying to excuse the behavior of the women that were doing this in this video and trying to, quote unquote, cancel this guy and saying we're not going to eat there again. You also had these simp ass blue pilled niggas out here trying to cancel him as well. You had them out there trying to run interference as well. That made it worse. That made it a whole lot worse. I'm like, doing all of that ain't gonna get you that close to the box. And I'm gonna be honest, I think some of them was in the damn academy anyway. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So he gave interviews to different news outlets and everything like that. And they sitting there saying, oh, well, I'm not gonna go to his business anymore. He's canceled. You know, they love to cancel people. He's canceled. Little do they know, this incident right here has actually kept this man booked and busy all the way to the summer of 2021. This man has reservations heavily booked. To be honest, he was already heavily booked prior to this. That's why he said with confidence, I don't need your money. Because he knew his clientele base. But they thought that that incident was going to ruin him. But it didn't. It actually brought people in. You have people who said, oh, I think I'm going to hop on a plane, risk this COVID-19, and travel to Dallas to go to his restaurant. You have people who are willing to cross state lines to go to his restaurant because of this. They thought they were actually doing something. They thought they was about to have this man shut down. The joke is on them, and they are the joke. So if anybody who is my subscriber who lives in the Dallas area, make sure y'all go patronize this man's restaurant and come back and tell us how it was. Now, to make matters worse of this situation, there was another video that went viral. And I saw it yesterday. So in order to try to prove some kind of a point, you had the Ratchet or the Ratchets go to a restaurant. It wasn't this one. Called the Sugar Factory. Now, some of you have probably heard of the Sugar Factory before. It's a very, I guess you can say it's a very entertaining establishment. And somebody had recorded this woman at the table who had this leopard skin dress on that she looked like she had to put Crisco oil on in order to squeeze into. Moved the chair out of the way and began to twerk off of the table like she was bent over the table and started twerking at the Sugar Factory, a white-owned establishment. In the background, you had this little boy dancing as if he could have been any closer to her, he would have been on her ass. A little boy who looked like he could not have been older than 10. But what got me about that video was when the waitress came out. It was a white waitress that came out. And while the woman was shaking and twerking her ass, you had the white waitress throwing up napkins at her ass like it was money and like she was at the strip club. And not one time did that black woman who was twerking, who had the napkins thrown at her ass, stop and tell the woman to not do that. She just twerked even harder. And then they try to mask that and say, see, these establishments let us come here and twerk, so what's the big damn deal? Like I said, the insubordination of it all. Oh, so I can't do it here? Bet. I'm going to go to this white establishment and then I'm going to go twerk there and they're probably not going to say anything. So you are willing to just toss away your entire image just so you could shake your ass in a restaurant. Trifling. To try to, quote unquote, throw it back into this man's face. As if he's really affected by it. He said he doesn't need your money and he's booked through the summer of next year. Holly Lynn says, please bring up the restaurant where the man was stripping on top of the table. The strip moves on women. This is my first time hearing about that. That's my first time hearing about that, but that's no better. Why are you stripping on the table at a restaurant? For what? A restaurant is not a strip club. And what it is, like I said, ever since this video went viral, now you're going to probably have more of these videos pop up to say, see, they're letting us twerk and they're letting us act a fool at these establishments. Why was it when we went to your place, you didn't let us do it? Exactly. Dana, etiquette. Many of them lack that. They be thinking that they done pulled into the drive-thru of the goddamn Popeyes and they seat twerking. That's not no damn drive-thru. Tina said, of course, white folks will let you twerk. You're the entertainment to them. Stop performing all the damn time. Exactly. And it's crazy, too, and I'm glad you said that. Because let's not forget, not only do people like this twerk in these restaurants now, let's not forget what they've been doing prior to that. All these protests that have been going on, they get out there and shake their ass and twerking in front of police cars, and some twerking on the police officers, some twerking on the police cars in front of the headlights as if it's a spotlight, like they at the club. And then when you try to tell them, they said, well, everybody has their own way of how they protest. How the hell is twerking a form of protesting? Somebody please explain that to me. That makes no sense. That makes no sense to me. To twerk at a protest where you're supposed to be protesting on the behalf of somebody who just died. Oh, I forgot. It was a black man most likely who was killed. So you wouldn't give a damn either way. But this doesn't surprise me, because I'll ask y'all this. Who remembers when Beyonce came out with that song Crazy in Love back in 2003? I remember it. I was 14 when that song came out. Big song. And that was like one of the times when twerking, at the time it wasn't called twerking, but that's basically what she was doing in the video. When that song came out, I kid you not, that's back when I was still going to church. I would see women in the goddamn pews when they would play that praise music, not the praise, y'all know what I'm talking about. When they would play music that had a beat to it, they were pretending like they caught the spirit, but they were in the pew shaking their ass like Crazy in Love was on. And I would see that. So if they will twerk in church, what makes you think they won't twerk in a restaurant? And they didn't think people saw that. I saw it. But like I said, it's a time and a place for everything. This was not a club. His restaurant is not a club. It's not a bar. It's not for strippers. It was made to congregate, eat, and leave. But I'm glad that this man's business is thriving, despite all the obstacles he had to face this week. But as far as I'm concerned, this is free publicity for him. This is free publicity for his business, his establishment. Exactly, Solo Dolo. His establishment, his rules. Sugar Factory may let you twerk and everything at their restaurant. But to try to use that to try to throw back in his face, that's not cool. I wish I could say I was shocked or surprised by this, but I'm not. I can't even bring myself to say I'm disappointed, because I'm not even disappointed. And it's funny because they had all this smoke. They had all this smoke for this black man who wanted to do something for his people, who worked hard. Especially when you have people saying black men don't do anything, or we don't build anything. Had all this smoke for him because he wanted to have his establishment ran a certain way and didn't want to be looked at a certain way. Because what do you think was going to happen? Them women were circling there. If he had allowed them to keep doing it, you know what they would have did? They would have went out and told their friends and family, girl, this restaurant called True Kitchen let me get up and twerk on the seats and in the mirror. You got to come down here. Girls like the club. They would have said that. They would have went back and told their friends that. And they would have brought a whole element into his establishment that he didn't want. But they had all this smoke for this black man. But when you have these Asian store owners, whether it's a nail store or a hair store, beating on their ass, accusing them of stealing, you want to go back the next day, the minute they put up a 50% sale off, 50% off sale on the sign, on the window, on the door, and line up to get your weave. When not even 24 hours ago, this guy put hands on this woman and beat the shit out of her, had her leaking. And then you had black men on the other side protesting for them not to go in the store. Then you had that one individual come out with acting like a damn chihuahua. You can't tell us what to do. I need to go get my hair. I gotta get my hair done. You need to see how my hair looks. She looks, man, that girl looked and sounded like Cardi B. Before we knew who the hell Cardi B was. Then you had, in another state, I think in Chicago, where you had this black man go into an Asian nail shop where he saw or heard about those nails tech people, whoever, mistreating black women in the shop, took a brick, threw it through the door or through the window. And when he's telling them to get up and leave, they want to continue to sit there and look at him like he's crazy. They eventually got up and moved. But guess what ended up happening? The business boarded up what he broke. And they went back either the next day or a couple days later. Appreciate you, Solo Dolo, for the super chat. Went back a couple days later. And who was in the shop? The same exact women whose honor he was trying to defend. Yes, Tyrone Muhammad. I remember I did a video about that. You want to know what's so crazy? Because he did that, he got clowned by other men. They said, man, you should not have gone and done that. You should have not risked catching a charge or catching a fine for those insubordinate women. Because now you have a record and you had to pay for damages. And what did they do? Disrespect you and go back to that same shop. Because they just had to get their nails done by the same people that disrespect them. And like someone said in the chat, we'll be the same ones to ask, why aren't you protecting us? This is why. Stop asking that dumbass question. You know why. See, the thing is, too many black women think that just because they're black, that they deserve to be protected no matter what. The woman who twerked, or the woman that twerked in this man's restaurant and was being disobedient and disrespectful, I wouldn't protect that. The ones who was cursing out them black men at that hair store after that woman got beat, I wouldn't protect her. The one in that nail shop who continued to go back afterwards, I would not protect them. I remember on Twitter the other day, I had posted up something about Shahrazad Ali. I had a lot of people agree with me. But when I saw one comment came from a black woman, she agreed with me, but only to the point where I talked about, or up until I talked about Shahrazad Ali. It's a lot of black women that don't like her. And I know why they don't. It's because of that book, The Black Man's Guide to Understanding Black Women. She predicted this 30 years ago. And here we are 30 years later. Same shit. She went to the men with The Black Woman's Guide to Understanding Black Men. They had no problem with it. They had no problem with it. When she called out the correcting of black men, the men had no problem with it. But when it came to that black woman, other women that looked like her identified as she did. Issues all around the board. I remember it was a speech I was watching her give. And she was saying every group has been examined. Black men, white people, white men and white women, Asian men and women, Hispanic men and women, Native men and women, and so on and so forth. But she said that black women were the only group that has never fully been examined. And she said that 30 years ago. Who would have thought 30 years later it will still be true? Yeah, Barry, Battle of Jenkins Ferry, she did get dragged for that book. They don't like her today because of that. And we know which part it was. It was the part about the slapping. That's the part that they didn't like. The part about the slapping. Because I happened to watch like a speech that she did. I think it was in a church back in like 1990. They do not like her at all. See, she would have been what they call today a pick-me. They might call her the supreme pick-me because she had the nerve to put it into a book. I do not like that pick-me term at all. That's one of the terms I heavily dislike. But yeah, it's frustrating, but it's not surprising to me at all. It's frustrating, but not surprising. But I'm about to head up off of here. I gave all the energy I could to that last topic for a reason, because that was the one I was more passionate about. But shout out to everybody who came through. Shout out to everybody who donated, a super chat. Shout out to anybody who might have subscribed to my channel after watching this. Shout out to anybody who donated to me through the super chat. I think I had got one. Let me see if I got another one just to be sure. Okay, I think I only just got one. But I'm about to head up off of here. Y'all enjoy the rest of your Friday. I know for me on the East Coast, it's already pitch black, so it looks like it's 9 o'clock. So it feels like my day's already done, but it is what it is. But I will be back tomorrow with the 4 video uploads. I'm bringing the heat as usual. And enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will talk to you.